and welcome to another Dawn and Julia Create. I would love to be able to say I'm really excited, but Dawn, all I can say is it's just as well. I love you, because Dawn is expecting me to colour an entire stamped image with this one Copic marker, and a black pen. So, can we create art with just this? I'm trying to make this look spectacular. Only this. Can we create art with just this? Let's find out. Okay, so Dawn has actually asked us to make a card, and I'm really not sure of what I am doing. So I am using my journal, as a journal should be used, as a place to experiment and work out what on earth you're doing. So I have seen artists in their sketchbook just do really quick sketches with like 1 or 2 Copics and a biro or pencil and just a Copic to highlight, and that's the look I thought I would try and create for the card. But as I said, this is not something I've done before, so I'm just trying it out a few different ways. So I've stamped out Foxy Tot. I kind of wanted it to kind of like look like there was highlights, so I kind of went for the yellow colour, and this is the Arteza gel pen. I really didn't like how this one turned out at all. The Arteza gel pen was far too heavy, quite smudgy. The yellow didn't work particularly well. I think possibly if I could have had 2 markers, a yellow one and a pink one for the cheek, it might have worked better. You're just seeing me cover this up with a little bit of gesso because although a sketchbook is a place to experiment, I really didn't like her black cheeks. I have got to learn how to colour using biros. That is another thing that I would really like to try and develop, but it wasn't looking quite right, so I've just sort of blocked that out so it doesn't look too bad. So once I realised that I didn't like the Arteza pen, I'm trying something similar again with a different image. So this one is butterfly style, so I'm just going to stamp that one out and have another go. So this time I have taken one of the RV pens, and again I just thought I would put it in the shadow areas and her blush and lips, and just keep it really light so that there's a hint of colour as opposed to lots of it. I don't really know what the opposite of hint is. Yeah, so it was just to kind of add a little bit of extra detail to those shadow areas. So I'm just sort of brushing lightly in those areas, trying to find my feet, to be honest, because as I said, this is really new. It's not a style I do. I go for full-blown colour with a dark, a mid-tone and a light, so it just felt so out of my comfort zone with this particular one. So now I'm kind of going in with the pen, much happier with this pen. This is a Staedtler biro, so much happier with that. So I think going forward, if I am going to work on biro art, this will be a pen that I will try and experiment with a little bit more. I think it would have been interesting to maybe try this with a few different coloured pens, but because obviously Dawn had given us the brief of 1 Copic and a black pen, I was trying to sort of learn with the brief that Dawn has given us. I honestly have no idea what Dawn plans to do with this, whether she's going to do doodling backgrounds with it, and I don't know. For me it felt so restrictive. This was one of these things that it was a challenge. When I first heard about it, I was like, gulp, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do? Definitely something that's pushed me outside my comfort zone, but also something that I have learnt from. So I would definitely highly recommend trying things. As you can see on my journal, I'm taking notes. I've kind of put what pen, how I felt about the biro, different things like that, so that I've got it for future reference. I wasn't quite sure what colour to try the robot out, so I kind of swatched a few different ones, and in the end went with the pink. Now I found the robot the easiest of all to do. I think it was quite a good image for it being so minimalistic. I think I could have made the other images work if I'd had 2 Copics, so that's maybe something I'll experiment with in the future. But I quite often coloured these little robots in the past, where I have done a base colour. I did that with watercolours. I did a base colour and then sort of added some sketchy lines with pencil to make it look a little bit rusty. So that's the one I've decided to go for the card. So this is the moment of truth. This is when I go for it for real. So we were allowed 1 stamp set. So I'm taking various elements from the stamp set and creating a little bit of a background. So we had some nuts and bolts there. Now I'm using the sentiments and some little levers and just sort of repeat stamping them at different orientations, just to kind of build up a little bit of a background page, because as I said, all we've got is this one stamp, a pen and 2 pens. So it's trying to really make the products that you have work for you. Because I can't rely on background paper or inks or anything, I'm just trying to build it up as best I can to make it interesting. I then go in with the pen, add a few more sort of sketchy, scribbly details to it. And then as I was doing that, I was like realising that I could sort of create a bit of a shading to the corners by doing some cross hatching. So I built up some cross hatched areas in opposite corners just to give it a little bit more definition, and of course did my doodly border. So I know we've kind of seen me sort of do this, but we will very quickly go over it again. I've stamped with Memento, just brushing that in on the nose and the cheek for characterization. And then after that, I am just going with the shadow areas. So had that had been the light facing the front, you would have your brightest areas right in the middle of his tummy, which is what we've done. And then I am just adding a little bit of cross hatching for the details. And again, adding little shadows into the spring areas of his arms and legs to try and bring it to life. And I actually really like how this little guy has turned out. Yeah, so have you ever set a challenge like this? I would love to see, actually, if any of you are watching Dawn and I do this, I would love to see you try and make something just using one alcohol marker and one pen and seeing how you get on. So to add this to my card, I am just fussy cutting it out. My tips for fussy cutting are find scissors that you're comfortable with. You use the whole blade and move the paper and not your scissors. Granted, this is a sped up version, only double. Dawn actually goes this fast in real life. But yeah, I've cut that out, and then also cut out a sentiment for it to be more of a feature and edged it in black so that there will be a focus, because obviously the background is quite busy, so you do want it to have a little bit of a focus. I did a scribbly line to match it, and I was kind of gonna leave it about here once I've kind of stuck that down, which I'm, you know, taking my time about doing. The glue probably wasn't working again. But I decided to come in with the pen and add a few highlights. Now, as I was doing this, I realised that the pen, the Copic, was reacting with the biro. So previously I just put the biro down first, and then I put the Copic down first, and then I'd added the details with the biro. But now I was going in retrospectively, the alcohol in the Copic marker was messing with the biro, and actually I was getting more interesting effects. Now I wish I'd learned that earlier on, because it might have changed what I'd chosen to do. So it was meaning I could get some really cool shadows, so I could then sort of go on and add them to the robot too, again just for a bit of definition. I did have to clean my pen off, as you see. So that is a technique I will be experimenting with further in a future video, but for just now, this is this card. As I said, I have no idea what Dawn will have done, so please do pop across and check out her make. And if you enjoyed these videos, you might want to check out this one right here.